Hello everyone. In the present session, I'll cover stack, queue and subroutines. Stack. A stack is a special type of data structure where elements are inserted from one end and elements are deleted from the same end. And this end is called as top of the stack. So we can perform push as well as pop operations with respect to any one end of the stack, and that end is called as top end of the stack. The various operations we can perform on stack are: first operation is insert operation and the second operation is delete operation. So with respect to insert operation, an element can be inserted or pushed into the stack from top end of the stack. So insertion operation is called as push operation. The second operation that we can perform on stack is delete operation. An element is deleted from top end, and deletion operation is also called as pop operation. So with respect to stack, we can perform insert operation, that is called as push operation, and the second operation is delete operation, and which is called as pop operation. A processor register is used in order to keep the track of the address of the elements of the stack that is at the top at any given time, and this register is called as stack pointer. In order to keep the track of the position, means the topmost location or topmost position of the stack, we are maintaining a single register called as stack pointer. Stack pointer is nothing but a processor register which is used in order to keep track of the address of the elements of the stack that is at the top at any given time. So if we assume a byte addressable memory with a 32-bit word length, so we can perform push operation by considering the instructions like subtract constant 4, sp and move new item into the content of sp. So we are having the stack, and suppose we are the stack is pointing towards, so stack pointer is pointing towards this particular location. So we have to perform push operation, means we have to insert a new element into the stack. So we can perform subtract immediately constant 4 from the content of sp in order to point towards the previous location. And so now the new item can be pushed into the stack. That means whenever if you are subtracted constant 4 from sp, the new location of sp will be here. And now we can perform push operation. The new item can be pushed into the stack. So using move new item sp. Similarly, we can perform pop operation, can be implemented as move content of sp item. So now we are having the content of sp. What is the content of sp? Here I will be having some value. Suppose if it is 4. So I have to perform pop operation. So the move content of sp, whatever the content we are having, so I have to retrieve that. So content of sp need to be retrieved and add constant 4 sp in order to point the new location. So in order to point after performing pop operation, so the new location will come to this one. So in order to get the new location, add constant 4 sp. So here we can observe that we are having a stack of word in the memory. So initially the current topmost location is pointing towards element 28, that is minus 28. So I can have a single register, processor register SP or stack pointer in order to point towards the topmost element on the stack. So after minus 28 we are having 17, 79 and so on, and the bottommost element is 43, and we are having the stack the address from 0 to 2 power k minus 1. Next we'll take queue. Data are stored in and retrieved from a stack on a first in first out basis. Difference between stack and queue. One end of the stack is fixed while the other end rises and falls as data are pushed and popped. In stack, we need to maintain a single pointer in order to keep track of top of the stack at any given time. In queue, we need to maintain two pointers are needed to keep track of both the front and end for removal and insertions respectively. Without further control, a queue would continuously move through the memory of a computer in the direction of higher address. One way to limit the queue to a fixed region in memory is to use a circular buffer. So next we'll take subroutine. Subroutines are nothing but the subtask. A subtask consisting of a set of instructions which is executed many times is called as subroutine. So I'll be having one main program. Within the main program, we are having some set of instructions and we need to repeatedly execute those set of instructions. Suppose if I am having 4 different instructions and those 4 different instructions need to be executed repeatedly within the main program. So what we can do is, so instead of executing repeatedly within the main program, we can keep these 4 instructions separately from the main program. Whenever the resultant of these 4 instructions are required, the main program can make a call to the subroutine. So here we can make use of 2 instructions, the call instruction and return instruction. So a call instruction causes a branch to the subroutine. So whenever the main program calls the subroutine, a call instruction causes a branch to the subroutine. At the end of the subroutine, the return instruction is executed. So we are having the call during call instruction, it causes a branch to the subroutine. So now the control is transferred into the subroutine part. So after execution of these 4 set of instructions, at the end of the subroutine, this is nothing but subroutine now. End of the subroutine, a return instruction is executed. The program resumes execution at the instructions immediately following the subroutine call. Whenever the subroutine call comes, so the program will be resumes its execution whenever the subroutine call comes. The way in which the computer makes it possible to call and return from subroutine is referred to as its subroutine linkage method. So what is the meaning of subroutine linkage method? The way or process in which a computer makes it possible to call as well as return. How the main program can make a call to the subroutine as well as after execution of subroutine part, how exactly it can return the value into the main program. So this is called as subroutine linkage method. So now we'll take what happens during call instruction. During call instruction, so I can say that the call instruction is a special branch instruction that performs the following operation. So initially stores the content of PC into the link register. So during call instruction, initially what happens is it will store the content of PC into the link register. So in the subroutine, we are using a special register called as link register to copy the return address. So initially the content of PC will be copied into the link register. So now branch to the target address specified by the instruction. So where exactly the call instruction is called? So to that particular address. So now that is nothing but your target address. So that means branch to the target address specified by the instruction. So now we'll see what happens during return instruction. Return instruction is a special branch instruction that performs the following operations. So branch to the address contained in the link register. So that means, so what we copied in the link register, we copied content of PC into the link register. So after return instruction, that means after execution of the subroutine part, branch to the address contained in the link register means value of PC. So here we can observe that the subroutine linkage using a link register. As I said before, the subroutine is used in order, the link register is used in order to store the return address. So here I can say that we are having two programs. One is a calling program or main program. So this is nothing but call program or subroutine. So here the location, memory location at 200, call instruction, the main program will make a call to the subroutine SUB. So whenever the call instruction is executed, what you have to do is, so now what is the content of PC now? The content of PC is nothing but what is the address after the call instruction, that is 204. So that value is nothing but the content of PC. So initially during call instruction I have to copy the content of that is content of PC will be copied into the link register, that is 204. So after call instruction, so execution of main program will be resumed. So this will be resumed. So now the control is transferred into the very first instructions of the subroutine. So now the content of PC was copied into the link register. So now the content of PC will be loaded with the very first instruction of the subroutine. So that is nothing but 1000. So the PC will be pointing towards the very first instructions of the subroutine, and the instruction execution will take place under subroutine part. So now after executing the subroutine part, so we have to return the value into the main program. So where we can return the value, so while return instruction, what happens is the content of link register, that means the PC value of the main program, so that will be copied into PC again. So this is nothing but link register and this is nothing but PC. So now during call return instruction, the content of link register will be copied into the PC, so that is nothing but 204. During call instruction, the content of PC will be copied into the link register. During return instruction, from the link register, once again the value will be copied into program counter or PC. So now after that the actual execution of main program will takes place. So this is how the subroutine works. That means whenever the main program calls the subroutine, and how exactly the subroutine will return the value into the main program. Subroutine nesting and the processor stack. Subroutine nesting means one subroutine calls the other subroutine. So in the case of just subroutine, we had only one main program and one subtask or subroutine. But in the case of subroutine nesting, one subroutine make a call to the another subroutine. So in the case of subroutine nesting, what happens is, so we cannot store the return address within the link register, because in the link register I can store only one return address, but in the case of subroutine I will be having more than one return addresses. So hence it is essential to save the contents of the link register in some other location before calling the another subroutine. Otherwise, the return address of the first subroutine will be lost. So how to store the return address? It is must and should, but I cannot use the link register because I'll be having more than one return address. So if you are using single link register to store the return address, the previous value, that means the return address of the first subroutine will be lost. Subroutine nesting can be carried out to any depth. Eventually, the last subroutine call completes its computation and returns to the subroutine that is called it. So here we can observe that the main program calls the subroutine 1, and subroutine 1 make a call to subroutine 2, and subroutine 2 will call subroutine 3. So now I can say that once the execution of subroutine 3 is completed, so we can perform subroutine 2, and after that we can perform subroutine 1. So here how we can store the return address. So initially how to store the return address of the subroutine 3. So next comes the return address of the subroutine 2, and next comes the return address of subroutine 1. So here in order to store in the case of subroutine nesting, so we can make use of stack memory in order to store the return address. So if you are having more than one return address which is to be stored, stored, but I cannot use the link register. But I cannot use the link register because I am having more than one return addresses. So in such cases, we can make use of stack memory, and we can store the return address within it. So next is parameter passing. The exchange of informations between a calling program and the subroutine is called as parameter passing. So after execution of the subroutine part, I have to pass the informations into the main program. So that means the subroutine need to return the value into the main program. So that is called as parameter passing. So in the case of parameter passing, so we can pass or we can exchange the informations by placing the informations within the processor register or else in the memory locations where they can be accessed by the subroutines. So next we'll take stack frame. Stack frame refers to locations that constitute a private workspace for the subroutine. So the stack frame is nothing but is the private workspace for the subroutine. So the workspace is created at the time of the subroutine is entered and freed up when the subroutine returns the control to the main program. So this private workspace can be created whenever the subroutine is called, and it can be freed up whenever the subroutine returns the control to the calling program or to the main program. So here we can observe that we are having the top of the stack at various time. So initially whenever the stack is empty, so it will be pointing towards level 1. So this location. So after that, two parameters n and num1 are pushed into the stack, and after that the subroutine, the main program calls the subroutine. So we copied the return address within the stack whenever call list add comes, that means the call subroutine. So after that the necessary parameter or local variables are pushed into the stack R0, R1 and R2. So now whenever the new item, that means the return address is pushed into the stack and the stack is pointing towards the location this one. So after that the local variables are pushed into the stack and the new value or new pointer is at level 3. The diagram shows a subroutine stack frame. Here we can notice that we are having two pointers. The first one is stack pointer, that is SP, and the second one is frame pointer, FP. So now why exactly we are using two pointers within a single stack? Whenever the new items comes into the stack or pop from the stack, each time the SP will be keep on changing. But whenever the return address is pointing towards, return address need to be fixed. So easily we have to access the return address from the stack. So I can say that initially this was the location that is old top of the stack. Without any values or without any parameters or else local variables, this was the topmost element or topmost position of the stack. Initially SP will be pointing towards this location. Whenever the parameter 4, 3, 2 and 1 is pushed into the stack, so at that time SP will be pointing towards this one. So now at that instant, suppose the main program calls a subroutine, so the return address will be once again copied into the stack. And so this, after that, what exactly we are doing is we will copy the saved content of SP, and here I'll fix the pointer, that is nothing but the frame pointer. So now the frame pointer is fixed. So with respect to FP, that is frame pointer, we can access the local variables as well as we can access the parameters, or else we can access the content of any saved locations within the stack. So after the frame pointer, so the local variable 1, 2, 3, so everything will be pushed into the stack after execution of the the entire program. So we can copy the content of that means we can copy the results within saved content of R0 or the saved content of R1 and so on. So now after execution of the entire main program as well as the subroutine, the stack pointer is pointing towards saved content of R1. So here we can observe that we kept one pointer as constant, and we'll take this as reference while accessing the local variables or parameters from the stack. So frame pointer is used to access the parameters passed to the subroutine to the local memory variables. The content of FP remains fixed throughout the execution of the subroutine, unlike stack pointer SP, which must always point to the current topmost element in the stack. So operations on stack frame. Initially, SP is pointing towards old TOS, top of the stack. The calling program saves 4 parameters, parameter 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 on the stack. The call instruction is now executed. So it will push the content of return address into the stack. So now SP points to the return address content and the first instructions of the subroutine which is to be executed. So now FP is to be initialized and its old content have to be stored. Hence, the first two instructions in the subroutines are move content of FP, comma, minus, that means decrement the content of SP, move content of SP, comma, FP. The FP is initialized to the value of SP, that is both FP and SP points to the saved location of FP address. So after that we are having three local variables are pushed into the stack. So now the pointer SP will be changed. So now the space for local variables is allocated by executing the instruction subtract constant 12 from the content of SP. So finally, the contents of the processor register R0 and R1 are saved in the stack. At this point, the stack frame has been set up. The subroutine now executes its task. When the task is completed, the subroutine pops the saved value of R1 and R0 back to those registers, moves the local variables from the stack frame by executing the instruction. So now add constant 12, SP and the subroutine pops save old value of FP back into FP. At this point, SP points to the return address. So the return instruction can be executed, transferring the control back to the calling program. So now after execution of the subroutine, the main part, that means the actual main program can be executed.